How's it going? If you follow me on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, you may have seen this image that I'm about to describe today. At the top, it has the word vision, if you can't see it. And what I want to talk about today is why you should not lose sight of your vision when you're in the valley. So many of us know what it's like to imagine having maybe some kind of life that you've dreamed of. I'm not trying to sell you on the power of manifestation or The Secret or any of those things like that. It's really just basic human experience. Many of us can imagine something better. It doesn't matter if it's a hamburger or if it's creating the best company in the world. We can imagine it. And then somewhere in between the imagination and the manifestation, many of us get stuck in this place that I'm going to call the valley for the sake of this expression. So today we're going to talk a little bit about how to not lose sight of the vision while you're in the valley. But before you get to the valley, let's talk about vision. So for those of us who might meditate or contemplate or just spend time visualizing, we know that there's this metaphor that we are going to a higher place. We're going to a higher state of awareness or something like that. And so what I'm going to call, for the sake of this expression today, a peak experience. So let's say you meditate and you think about your life in 1, 2, 3 years from now, and you really say, I could see myself really living in this tropical place that I really love with a lot of calmness around me. Maybe I learned how to play a musical instrument. I'm kind of describing some of my own visions here for my own life. But let's just say that you want to live with me or you just have some idea of what you want to do and it sounds like that. Okay, so you sit there and you imagine that. And then you go to this peak experience. Now, once you get to this peak experience, you're hanging out here and you're imagining, you're looking out into the future and you're seeing where you want to be. This is the destination. And you're trying to figure out, how do I get from here where I know the state that I'm in, but I'm imagining this other state, and it becomes so real that you can see it like something off in the distance. And you say, how do I get from here to here? Now, if you're really, really powerful, you may be able to just go jump from here to here. Most of us can't do that. So what we end up having to do is we have to come down from here, go through this valley, then climb back up to get to this place. Now, if you're really excited and you have enough provisions and things like that, maybe you have the money, the resources, whatever it is you need when you're here, you might say, hey, it's easy enough. I realize what I have to do. I'm going to go down this valley. I'm going to get up here, no problem. Or you might even say, you know what? I'm going to tell somebody to come with a helicopter, pick me up here and fly me over here. But if you're not in one of those situations and you have to do it a different way, then you're going to have to descend in order to ascend to where you want to be. And that's where a lot of us get stuck. Here you might be comfortable, or at least it's the devil you know. You might not be exactly comfortable, but you have an idea of what to expect. And so you're not willing to risk the known for the path of the unknown. See that big U? The unknown to get to this new known. You're just not willing to do that. Most of us are going to fall in that category. So we're going to imagine something and we're just going to say, but it's too hard and I don't know what's down there. Maybe there's some bears or something. And so we never are going to choose to go into the unknown to get to this next known. Hey, that's how it is. Many of us are going to do that. It's what they call normal. You got plenty of company. Don't worry about it. But for those of us who say, you know what, maybe there isn't enough here. Maybe you're hitting rock bottom. You can't stand it up here anymore. Maybe the tension between here and here is so much that you're willing to take that risk. Then you are the person I'm talking about. So you may say, you know what, that's it. I think about this so much. I feel this so much. I need to figure out how I'm going to get from here to here, or here to here. Let me use my little pointer. But the thing is, when it's here, it's a clear path. You think, I can see that. And you look down, I can see the valley. But once you start descending into the unknown, there's a lot of things that are going to happen down here. And you got to let the unknown be the unknown. You can't control it. You can't force your projection of the known, whether it's this known or your perceived or imagined idea of this known. You can't allow that to determine your experience in this area. And that's where we get really, really stuck. Because as we start to descend, for a little while, you're like, okay, I get it. I kind of knew what to expect. I knew it was gravity. I knew this. And then you get down here in the valley. And when you're in that valley, you don't know what's going to happen. But if you can hold on to that heightened awareness, that vision of how you're getting from here, you remember while you're down here, why you came down here and what is guiding you to this place. The how may be difficult to figure out, but that's not your business. So that's what we're going to think about a little bit today. So I used a couple of things to articulate this message that I'm trying to share. The first is from the Hebrew Bible, and it's a proverb, Proverbs 29:18, that basically says, people without a vision will perish. And I extrapolated that and said, hey, if you don't have a vision for where you're going, that's it. You know, you're going to get consumed by what you do know. And that vision that guides you into a higher future or to the next moment, if you don't have that, then you're just going to be swallowed up by the known, get exhausted, get tired, get wiped out. That's it. I'm not going to get into it too much. Just going to say, if you have a vision, don't worry about perishing. This is where you want to be. Just go into the unknown, have faith. You will get there. It's not any magic trick. It's just being with what is. The second thing that I wanted to lift up is I broke up the word proverbs and made it proverbs, like positive action words. Just as a device for you to remember that say positive action words, remind yourself of the vision as you're down in the valley. That's simply a tool to use. Now, this book, sorry, my family's loud if you hear some bumping up there. The Second Mountain by David Brooks. Now, a lot of people know David Brooks is a conservative commenter on different things, who's gone through different changes in his own life. And he wrote a book called The Second Mountain. You don't have to read the book if you don't want to. I did. It was pretty good. A lot of people who knew David Brooks on The First Mountain might not be interested in reading his book on The Second Mountain, but I challenge you to just check it out anyway and allow yourself to share an experience with someone. But what he talks about is a lot of times the first mountain is like, you know, family, kids, your job, whatever the case may be. These are the things that you do on the first mountain. Once you get up to the first mountain, you realize that there's another mountain of your life, the second mountain of your life. And I'm not doing an exact metaphor, but it's comparable. And basically, when you're aware of that second mountain, you do have to go through these different changes and different circumstances to get up to that second mountain and all the awarenesses that I was speaking about before. But the question is, what do you do? In his particular case, in a lot of people's cases, we don't choose to descend. We make some mistake or something happens unexpected and we fall down the mountain. And then when we fall down the mountain, then maybe if we have enough support or if we have enough vision or whatever the case may be, we will then say, hey, you know what? I know I fell down to rock bottom. I am going to do whatever it takes to get up to this other mountain. But some of us, we come to a place and we say, hey, I've been here before. I realize the process. And if I want to get from here to here, there are things that I'm going to have to let go of. And then you just do it. And then you discover along the way, which is the essence of faith. If you're not a person of faith in the traditional sense, if you believe there's such a thing as tomorrow, then there is such a thing as faith in your mind as well. So just say a person who believes in something beyond the moment they're in is a person of faith for the sake of this expression. And so you have decided that you aren't going to wait to get knocked off the mountain or for something to happen. You realize this is where you want to be. And you might not even know exactly what's there, but you can just sense it. And you just decide, hey, I have to make this descent. And so you do. And that's where the Theory U by Otto Scharmer comes in. And it's not an exact correlation either, but I want to share it because it's a very powerful idea that I kind of connect with my own faith tradition and things like that to understand the process of this and be able to articulate it for others if it might serve them. So let's say you decided, I'm going to descend. And you start doing it and everything is, you know, reasonably predictable. Gravity is taking effect. You're going down the mountain. You can see pretty much your trajectory down here. And now you get into the valley where the real unknowns happen. Well, in Otto Scharmer's teachings, he has something he calls presencing, which is a hybrid word of presence and sensing. And part of what he teaches, as I understand it, is the very future that you desire also wants you. And so that sensing the future is going to guide you in the present so that you can continue to go up this other side of the U. Now, in his thing, it's called Theory U. I kind of made it like a V for sake of this discussion, and also I also like U for unknown, but these are all things I'm adding to his theory, not necessarily something that he might agree with. But as I understand it, as a person who's choosing to descend into this place, the tough part is when you get up to this part and it's time to go up the mountain. It's easy for gravity to bring us down. That's life. Many times we fall in life and we say, how did that happen? Well, it's gravity. Gravity brings everything down spiritually, mentally, physically, metaphorically. Gravity is easy. If I lay down, it's a lot harder to get up than it is to go down. And so if you go down this way, you might say, hey, it's a clear path. It's pretty easy. Things seem to be going fine. And then you get up to this part of the curve, and now gravity is working the other way. Now you have to work against gravity to get up here. And that is the part where we get the tension. And then many of us give up. We might make the risk or take the risk or get knocked down here. And then when we get here and we're trying to get back up here is when we give up. And this is the idea that I'm inviting you to consider, that when you get here, you have to keep your mind here. And this path is leading to this vision, to not lose sight of the vision when you're in the valley, to remind yourself why you stepped down or why you fell down, and then learn from it and continue to remind yourself of it, apply it, reach out and connect with people who can see your vision and have them hold you accountable to that vision as you start moving through the valley. And there along the way, you're going to encounter different people who may be doing that same journey. Encourage one another, work with one another, remind one another that the vision will be realized if you just keep going. And so that is where I'm inviting us today to remember, do not lose sight of the vision when you're in the valley. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about is a metaphor that helps me a lot. And the tradition that I practice, our teacher basically uses this metaphor of a seed. And he says that the seed can't grow into what it's going to become unless the seed surrenders its life. So the same thing happens when you want to grow a plant per se. You have to take that seed, which this somewhat represents in my expression of this analogy, and you have to let it sink down, get buried, go into the unknown, but you continue to nurture it even when you can't see what's happening. And even though you can't see what's happening, if you keep on giving it what it needs, eventually something springs up, right? And once that thing springs up, that same power just keeps on going, and it goes and it grows and it expands. And that same thing can happen inside of you if you allow that space to be held within you to continue to nurture that vision, nurture that dream, even when you're in the valley. It will grow and it will sprout forth. And it can sprout forth in ways that you cannot even begin to imagine. And all of that dwells inside of you. That very thing that you dream of, that very vision that you imagine, if you allow it to be nurtured right there in the dark place, right there in the deep, right there where you cannot see what the future holds, but you keep giving it what it needs to grow, it will grow. The increase happens in a mysterious way, but it does happen. So continue, even while you're in the valley, even while you're in the depths, remember the vision. Don't lose sight of the vision while you're in the valley. Continue to give it what it needs to grow, and it will ascend. You will ascend. That is just how it is. If you find yourself in the valley, or whether you choose to be in the valley, don't lose sight of the vision. Surround yourself with people who can see the vision and hold the vision. Keep working to articulate the vision. Give it what it needs. It will ascend. If you have any questions or anything like that, please feel free to reach out to me in any of the social media feeds that you'll see this video in. And happy dwelling in the unknown. It's a place that is filled with possibility, just like you are. So don't be afraid of the unknown. Be afraid of not living your possibilities. Thanks.